Hello. Hello, hello. Hope you're having a great day. Let's see. Today we are joined by Mothership Rising, also known as, oh, here she is. Let's see. Hi.
Hey, can you hear me all right?
I can. Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine. Great.
Perfect. Thank you so much for joining me, Laura. Um, for anyone who doesn't know me, I am Mallory. I'm the Mindful Maid or Mindful Maid the Mindful Maid on Instagram. And today we are joined by Mothership Rising, or Laura, if you know her. She's amazing. We met on here, and I wanted to bring Laura on today to talk about postpartum support and really just support throughout motherhood from pregnancy to the fourth trimester, which is primarily what we focus on. So if anyone who doesn't know me who's joining now or maybe watching this later, like I said, I'm Mallory. I am a mom. I became a mom last year, and after going through struggles myself and talking to other moms about all their struggles, I started this company, and we have curated postpartum and self-care boxes for moms through all stages of motherhood. My goal is to really empower and support mamas through heading into the fourth trimester and to help moms feel supported. And so we wanted to talk to Laura today. So Laura, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background and what you do?
Great. Thank you so much for having me here to be part of this conversation. I was just thinking today about how special it is that we get to sit and share about this and hear people's stories and hold space for that. We're living in a really incredible time where we're coming out of the dark, really, right?
Yeah, it.
Where there was so much kind of secrecy and unknowns about the postpartum experience. And just to be in a time where people are shedding the light and supporting each other just feels really special. So thank you for
Right.
having me.
That's so cool that social media lets us do that and that
Yeah.
so many people feel comfortable enough to start doing it, really.
Yeah, it really changed. I have to say, there was a hashtag, Speak the Secret, that really impacted me
Oh,
and
wow.
supported me on in my postpartum journey when I was having disruptive thoughts, and I thought I was the only one. And on Instagram, I don't know, I came across a post, and then I noticed that the tag was Speak the Secret, and I started following that tag, and I saw a lot of parents and moms, particularly postpartum moms, who were having a similar experience to me, and that really made me feel seen,
Yeah.
to see my experience reflected back. So I guess that kind of ties into part of, how and why I started Mothership Rising. We are an app that supports parents in those early days of parenting. It can be the fourth trimester, it can be postpartum, but it can also be however a little person, a little new soul comes into your life. And we make it easy for the friends and family, your trusted community, to support you emotionally and practically. I like to say we're like a meal train for emotional support. The heart and soul of our app is an emotional support calendar where friends and family can sign up for days to check in on you and do an emotional support check in. And the app will connect you and the supporter on that day. So it's real easy. We connect you by text. You don't even have to open the app. After I sign up to support you on October 15th, the October 14th, the app is going to send me a reminder. Hey, tomorrow you're supporting Mallory. And on the 15th, it's going to connect me and Mallory with the text. And then I just respond to it and say, I'm here for you. What do you need? Or, I have friends that I've sent playlists that are inspiring to me, just lots of different things depending on what your relationship with who you're supporting.
Okay, I love that. It's so cool. It's such a unique idea that I think more people need to know about because so many of us feel so alone and we don't know where to go, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you to help, if someone doesn't know where to go, then maybe this will give them some ideas. So one of the first questions I wanted to talk to you about and get your perspective on is I mean, first of all, how do we define support, and like what does that really mean or look like to be supported, and why is it important, I guess?
Okay. First of all, I want to say that you sent over these questions beforehand and they were wonderful.
Oh, thank you.
They were so inspiring for me to sit and think about. So thank you for that. And I just
Oh,
wanted to
awesome.
invite whoever is listening now, to just think about, like, let these be inspiration for your own answers, because I'm a big believer of listening to our own intuition, our own higher, our own higher knowledge or higher self, whatever feels true to call, whatever you would call it.
Yeah,
And that hopefully these are just going to spark inspiration for people about what's true for them.
yeah,
Um,
I love that.
so, yeah, what's true for me is that support feels like being safe in my body, and it feels like being connected to others, and it feels like being supported. Um, and why that's really important is because we're not meant to do it alone. And the feeling of safety in our body is a basis for health, mental, physical, emotional health, right? It's the baseline, from which we can create from, that regulates our system, regulates our nervous system. And so I just really think that support ties in to our well-being on so many different levels.
Yeah, I love that. That's perfect. And that really ties back into self-care, which is what I'm always talking about and what I strive to help people with, because it's literally just like getting back to your health and how you are taking care of yourself. Um, but then the other part of support is the having the system and or the community, or whoever you have outside of yourself to support you, which I think is huge. And in motherhood, we tend, or I am really bad about this, like not wanting to ask for support, because we tend to just want to do everything ourselves, or I don't know if want is the right word. We just tend to do that, and I think that's a big part of learning and growing and figuring things out. But um, yeah, so like I said, we here on in my space and community, we focus on the fourth trimester. But obviously, supporting through pregnancy and birth is very important too. I think, like personally, I focused so much on birth and that event
Mm-hmm.
that it was hard to think past that, which I think is a huge thing. And a lot of people probably can relate to that, because when you're pregnant, all you're thinking about is birth, usually, or a lot of the time. So I guess my next question was, is it too late when you're already in postpartum, and like what are some steps you would recommend for finding support if you're already there and you maybe don't have that system?
Right. Great questions. I mean, you know, first of all, it's not too late, and postpartum is forever.
Yeah.
Right? I think, and as like my little one is, like 2 years and 4 months, and what I'm learning is that each, like as he grows and transitions, I'm growing and transitioning, and at each step, I need a different support, right? So I think the first thing that I would share is that, um, sometimes we think that we need a huge support system, but actually having one or two trusted people can be, really, really valuable, right? And can, like, as opposed to, I think we compare a lot on social media, and we say like, oh, this big group of friends are doing this, right? When in essence, a lot of people
Yeah.
really just have one or two people that they can call in the middle of the night when, right, the shit gets real, like,
Yeah.
and having those people, I think, just holding on to them and identifying them and showing your gratitude to those people.
Yeah. I think
Um,
it's amazing.
and then I think, getting really clear on what you need for support in that moment, right? Do I need just somebody to vent? am I looking for advice? Do I need somebody
Mm-hmm.
to like do something practical for me? Right?
Yeah.
Like that, getting really clear so that the other person can support you. Um, and then, right, and I think this kind of ties into like how do you create support when maybe you feel like you don't have a big community out there, um, is I like to normalize non-mom friends, basically, and mom friends who are maybe in different stages of their life, because a lot of like my mom friends who are in the same stage, they don't have time to come over and like babysit,
Yeah,
right?
that's
But
true.
my friends who might be a 10 years ahead of me or 10 years behind me or chose a different path, they a lot of them were the ones who were like when I was breastfeeding in the middle of the night, they were the ones who were up and like able to text with me, right?
That's such a good
So
point. Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
so just like thinking about who in your community might be a little bit like might actually be in a different place and they might actually have a little bit more bandwidth to support
Yeah,
you.
totally.
Um, and then, of course, it is really powerful to connect with people who are in the same, you know, like maybe same season of life. So there are lots of organizations like Postpartum Support International is a really big organization that holds online
Hmm.
support groups for free. And then I'm sure there's local support groups, right? There's smaller ones like Empowered Postpartum, which I love. They're here in Southern California. I know hospitals have virtual support groups going. So I think it's, if it feels like it's outside of your comfort zone to go to those, you know, here's your invitation to say, go outside your comfort zone and go to
Yeah,
them.
yeah, totally. And that leads right into my next question, which is if someone doesn't know how to find support, like what would be your tips for either asking or seeking out support? And I know like a lot of us don't live like I don't live near family. I have one cousin in the area and they're kind of far away. So, um, or like, in times of COVID when we're in isolation, like what are your tips for that sort of thing?
Right. So I think it goes back to, again, knowing like, is it going to be supportive of you? Right. Do you want somebody to go for a walk with you? Or do you want somebody, you know, to share about like body feeding tips? Do you want somebody who's going to like to just listen to what's coming up for you emotionally, right? And there are groups for all of those things. So it's about being willing to to kind of put your hand out and say like, hey, I'm here. I'd like to meet up.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to meet with you. This is what I'm looking for. And then
Yeah.
being kind of like a two-way street, saying like, this is what I want to give too, right?
Yes. Like
So I,
knowing
I
that
think
it's okay to ask for help because I think a lot of us might be hesitant because it feels like we feel like we're supposed to be able or to do everything by ourselves on our own.
yes, yes. And that's why it's practice. That's why it's practice. It's like, I don't know. I think back to when I was like dating a lot and I was practicing dating. I would force myself like to go on dates to practice.
Yeah.
And I think like I came to motherhood later in life. So, I didn't know if I was going to be a mom. So I practiced building friendships. Um, yeah, so
Yeah, I love that.
it's practice asking for support. It's practice connecting with people, and it's practice like letting it go. If somebody says no, or if somebody, if it's,
Yeah.
you know, if it's not their thing, if it's not a connection, knowing that that's not a reflection on you.
Yeah, totally. And if anyone is watching this and you're like, I don't know where to go for support, here's two people right here. Come to us. We will help guide you to the right place. So,
Yeah,
um,
absolutely. And Postpartum Support International has a hotline too. So
oh
they're
yeah,
a
that's
great
true.
resource to call.
Mm-hmm.
And they have local people all over the US to support you.
Yeah.
So they'll be able to direct you to somebody in your area, and I bet that person in your area is going to know, you know, resources. And let me
Yeah.
tell you, there are so many free and donation-based resources out there these days. People really want to help new moms.
Yeah.
It's a really great community like that.
Yeah, they really are. It's really great. I love this community. I've been finding a lot of supportive places on like Instagram and Facebook even just that you just wouldn't expect. And like I found like local mom groups who go on walks and you know stuff like little things like that. That's really gets you out of the house and it's great. I
Yes.
don't always make them because they're usually super early in the morning, but I know that it's there.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. And the moms groups that aren't supportive, you just leave or mute
Yeah.
or just, you know, ignore.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And yeah, I forgot what I was going to say. But anyway, um, so the last question I had was what are just, and we probably already covered this, so just sum it up if you already said your tips, but top 2 tips for asking for help. Well, I guess, yeah, we already did do that, but just like sum up your top 2 tips for asking and seeking for support.
Okay, I actually have two other things that like I wanted to share that people could practice.
Yeah.
And one is when a friend texts you and says, "Is there anything I can do?" Say yes.
Yeah.
Say yes. You don't need
That's
to know
great.
what
Yeah.
it is.
From
Just
the
say
other
yes.
perspective, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
How to support someone really.
Yes. So your friend, you know, there are people, even if that person is on the other side of the country, if they have say, "Hey, can I support you?" Just say yes. And then you
Oh,
can
yeah, yeah. I get what
yeah,
you're saying.
then
Yeah.
you can figure it out, right? You have practice saying yes. And then the other
Yeah.
practice I would say is when somebody texts you or calls you and says, "How are you feeling today?" Tell them the truth,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, exactly.
Practice saying, you know, sharing what the full truth is.
Yeah.
And there might be great stuff going on, and lots of times we want to share that, right? But you can also share the hard stuff too. So usually there are like 5 different emotions happening in your body and at the same time.
Yeah.
So practice sharing more than one. Practice
Yeah.
sharing the one that makes you feel uncomfortable saying.
Right. That's when we tend to just say like, "Oh, I'm fine." Like, really, really,
Yeah.
are you just fine? Like, how do you actually feel? And that's actually something that I practice because I don't really like when people say I'm fine to me. So I don't want to say that to other people. So I actually actively practice, and you can ask my husband this because I won't even if I okay, so if I do say I'm fine, he knows to ask like what's up and then I will expand. So
Because it's like a, "I'm fine." Yeah.
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 So this was all really great information. Is there anything else that you want to sum up with before we end?
I guess I just want to share what you touched on a little bit before is that these barriers to asking for support often are things that like society has put on us to think that we should be doing it alone, to think that there's
Yeah.
some perfect version of motherhood or parenthood, right?
Yeah.
Um, and it can be hard to shift that view. Like just asking for help is a way to start to shift that view. So just taking that like one baby step of saying yes, of
Mm-hmm.
going to a group, of downloading an app, of, you know, maybe investing in a self-care box for yourself, right? Just
Yeah.
like these little steps, and we strengthen that muscle of what it looks like to be in community.
Yeah, I love that. I love all of your ideas and perspective on everything. It's really beautiful. And thank you so much for being here. Hopefully, whoever watches this will get something out of it. And everyone, make sure you're following both of us for more support and community. And feel free to reach out with any questions. So thank you, Laura.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I'll talk to you later. How do I end this? Oh.